The lesson here is to show how when one industry collapses, another industry can rise from that. Um, in our location here for Monterey Bay, we're going to show how the fishing industry had collapsed and actually turned to a tourist industry that's just as strong. Um, and actually has created probably just as many jobs as well with all the restaurants um, and the dive shops, camera shops, um, gift shops all through a cannery row. So um, to start with the presentation, we're going to explain, so here's our timeline of events that happened in Monterey Bay that are significant to this transition into the new industry. In 1874, the Monterey and Salinas Valley Railroad Company was established. Um, you'll see more of this in the next slide, what significance that plays, because the railroad ran all through Monterey Bay. In 1919, a big storm came through and wiped out the fishing fleet, and I believe the naval fleet was also stationed here visiting around the exact same time and was taken out, which led to the design and proposal of a breakwater being built, which is right here. You have the Wharf 2, you have Fisherman's Wharf, you have Booth Wharf, which is no longer there. Um, it's on the side over here. And then we have the canneries from the Cannery Row. As you can see, they're circled here. When the breakwater was being built, you can see with the rail here in the train dumping the sediment into the ocean, building the breakwater during its middle stages. And then we have over on the side here is actually the fishing industry that's going on with the canneries. Um, what's showing in this slide here is actually, this is called a hopper, a fish hopper. These are floating offshore. The reason I'm going to be telling you this is because we're going to be diving down to see these pipes that are still underwater that form artificial reefs that used to be connected to these hoppers. Um, the fishermen would dump the fish in there. The hoppers connected from a pipe to a pump house that would suck the fish into the canneries. And on the next slide you will see that. And then, so during the 1950s, they went through a transition period. The sardine industry collapsed, many believe due to overfishing, but squid was still popular, or was still growing at the time. Usually it was seasonal. Squid in the springtime, I believe it was, is they would switch over and do a lot of squid fishing, and then when the sardine industry went down, it was pretty much squid all the time, and I believe this is what they're loading into the hopper right here, is squid. Um, when the fishing industry went downhill, they started having a lot of fishing tournaments. The canneries actually mysteriously started burning down in the 1950s. A lot of fires broke out, and it pretty much turned into a ghost town. In 1992, Monterey Bay became a National Marine Sanctuary through the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. But in this final picture here, you can see actually how it became the ghost town as well. So now, no longer the canneries, fishing industry, it's more for tourists. And here's an aerial satellite view. As you can see here also is where all the canneries used to be. Now it's a beach, where a lot of divers do beach entries, shore dives. Down at the bottom now the breakwater is a huge parking lot. There's a restroom, there's dive shops over in the area, divers everywhere. As you can see, the divers in the water, and here is a new breakwater, and the new San Carlos Beach is what it's called. This is called San Carlos Beach, and then you can actually see remnants of the old cannery still on the beach. There is a structure, looks like an old foundation for a pump house on the beach, and the pipes actually are right out here, or that's what we're going to be diving down to see. Here's a better visual to give you an idea. Here is the hopper again. It's anchored offshore, and it floats. Pipes that run from the hopper up into the pump house, suck the fish into the cannery, where it would go over to the warehouse and then ship out on rail. And there is a small story about this right there on San Carlos Beach. It's a commercial divers memorial, and on the memorial, here's word for word. If you'd like to pause this, go ahead, feel free, and you can read the little short story about the floating hoppers and underwater pipes and the part the commercial divers played in maintaining these pipes and these hoppers. One of the divers is right here, Eddie Bushnell. He's actually listed on the memorial. He's number 2 on the list. So just so you put a name or a face with a name, um, just to give it a little bit more history and value. So this is what we're going to dive down and see is these pipes. They're still underwater, and like I said, it forms an artificial reef. A lot of marine life, plant life around there now. It'd be something to see, give you an experience to remember for a very long time. The pipes run along the side of the beach over here into the bay. The remnants of the old canneries are on this side of the beach. The Divers Memorial is located in this area. There is a sardine hopper that's actually located on this side of the breakwater, which we'll take a walk over here. There's a walkway where the old train rail used to be, the tracks, and then we'll see the sardine hopper as well. In this picture, you can kind of see how there's this is an old picture taken back, I believe, in like the 1930s, some hoppers floating offshore. And this is the looks like an old foundation for the pump house on the beach, and we'll be diving in right over here off to the side. We'll be doing 2 dives, and we'll be in this area with these divers over here. This area here is actually sand bottom. It's good for training, and there's a lot of kelp over here too, canopies you can swim through. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to play a little short video to actually from divesitevideos.com. It's a Discovery California Diving. It's a small segment of Monterey Bay to give you a better idea of what you're going to see when we go down there. The harbor seal. They're very playful. They actually will nip on your fins and your hands. Not as aggressive as sea lions. These are the kelp forests. In the summertime, the kelp forests flourish. In the wintertime, they actually will diminish. This here looks like it's probably summer right now. There's a lot of kelp in there, and that's how thick it gets. These are called white plume metridiums right here. As you can see, they're growing on what looks like the remnants of some of the old canneries. We will not go out to see these. These are actually the pipes that we're going to go down to see. If you follow them out to where they end, the metridium fields are about 50 feet or further away on the end of them. It's pretty far out there, not just for an open water class or open water dive. What you're seeing here is a sunfish, which actually there's some old pictures in the Monterey Public Library of those things are real huge, the size of a Volkswagen car back in the old days. You rarely get to see any that big now. Those are the sea lions. Those are actually more aggressive underwater than the harbor seals. And you don't want to get too close to them because they will get aggressive. Now these divers here are also wearing dry suits, and they're on dive propulsion vehicles, which we'll actually be wearing wetsuits and then just be kicking with our fins. And that's about the end of the video. Okay, that was only a small segment of that video. If you want to see a lot of dive sites in California and hear the narrator, you can go ahead and purchase a video. It's called Discover California Diving. And that is about it. So again, we're going to go to Breakwater Jetty. San Carlos Beach is our dive site, and I'm sure it'll be an experience to remember. And that'll be your lesson for your industries. When one collapses, another rises from it.